G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach with DR and welcome to the round 14 review. Finally, I know that you're celebrating too. These bye rounds are over. What a chaotic 3 weeks in Supercoach. You know, remember at the start, we were expecting Richmond West Coast to have the bye in round 13. Got switched to 14. Couple of extra trades thrown in there. Just crazy, wasn't it? But it's all over now and we can get back to our normal Supercoach life. If there is a normal in Supercoach, there's always different things thrown at us every week, isn't there? Whether it's injuries, underperforming primos, or, as we said, players or teams switching bye rounds. It's just nuts, isn't it, this game? But you got to roll with the punches. And look, I think that score for me is probably just a little bit above par for the rounds. It's top 4%, so I'm not sure what par is. Is top 4% about par for round? Yeah, I'm really not too sure. But look, not terrific. I really was expecting or hoping for probably a 1750 plus, but yeah, a couple of the blokes that I brought in didn't quite perform how I wanted them to. Pretty disappointing, to be quite honest. But you know, you got to make some moves at times, and at the end of the day, I'm one upgrade away now. What have I got? About 100k in the bank and 6 trades up my sleeve. So I've got a pretty easy situation, I think, when it comes to my upgrade. There's one upgrade that I need. It'll be quite obvious when I get into the side. You probably know who I've traded out of premium lately, but let's get into it. I must say as well, had a bloody ripper of a weekend. Spills came down, so watch your footy with him on the TV. Obviously can't go to any games, but yeah, had a few cold ones, got a pizza and all the rest, and yeah, it's actually first time actually meeting up. We've done that many Skypes and podcasts and all the rest, but yeah, good on you, Spills. Ripper to have you up there, mate. So yeah, let's get into it, guys. Hope that you went well. Let's see how the team's actually going. Now, I'll get straight to it. Now, I am smiling, but I tell you what, over the weekend, I was not happy. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know exactly how I feel about the score that Champion Data gave to my man, Tom Stewart. Now, 120 points. On most occasions, most weeks, you'd say, beautiful, yep, lock it in the bank, fantastic, 120 from Tom Stewart. But this week, this was one of the better games you'll see from a defender this year. He equalled the record for intercept marks with 15 intercept possessions altogether. Kicked the ball, I think, 23 times. 4 handballs, I think it was. 27 possessions all up. This man absolutely dominated the game, and I think was the reason. Not Gary Rowan after the siren. Look, he played obviously a big part, but without Tommy Stewart playing that match, then the Dogs get up by 3 goals, I think. He was just clearing away, in my opinion, the best player on the ground. Last week he got a 130, and maybe we were just blessed with that. I'm not too sure, but compare this week's game with the week before when Geelong played Port. I just can't see how that game is 10 points better. Now, I'm sure there's many other factors. Shout out to Frogger. I know you mentioned a couple of good points on Twitter as well. You know, there might have been less disposals in the game, for example, and there's different circumstances. So, yeah, completely agree with that and understand that. But you can't tell me that a Bont who gets a 140 plus had more of an impact on that game. You know, I've tried to go back through the stats and look, love Fantasy Freako, but the only explanation I've seen anyway, and I haven't been back on Twitter for a little while, is that contested possessions are worth more, and Bont obviously had more contested possessions. Now, fair enough, yeah, great. Contested possessions are great for Supercoach, we understand that. But how about intercept marks? How about rewarding this man for equaling the record and absolutely dominating this game? You know, Supercoach should reward influence on games. And if you're telling me that Tommy Stewart's influence on a game was a 120, then you're absolutely having a laugh. So, look, I'm not going to get right into all the numbers now, but I'm going to crunch them in the Supercoach stock market video this week. I'm going to have a massive rant on the podcast. Spills and I'll get that out Tuesday, Supercoach Swordplay. So, yeah, I'm going to be building up for this podcast and this rant because, yeah, I need to blow a little bit of steam off. I've blown a little bit off there, but probably not all that I need to. I think I just love an explanation, you know. And look, if there is one, fantastic, as I said, but gobsmacked that's a 120 score. But anyway, let's move on. Tommy Stewart. Tommy Stewart. I can't get over Tommy Stewart, can I? Lockie Whitfield, 126. So we said last week we're a little bit disappointed, but don't worry, this man should bounce back. And here he goes, gives us his best score of the year so far. So again, if you compare that to a Stewart game, Whitfield's game, and hey, Whitfield played terrific. I'm not complaining with the 126, but you can't say Stewart's 120 and that's a 126. Yeah, anyway, but you can tell how I feel, can't you? But yeah, Whitfield absolutely wrapped with that. We're expecting this bloke to produce games like this. We know what type of ceiling he's got. Look, last week, as I said, a couple of knocks early. I really think that may have affected his ability to run and carry. So I'm wrapped with that, and all of a sudden, this looks like a really, really good trade. And if you add the two scores up from last week and this week, then he's averaging 100 for me anyway. So, yep, take that every day of the week. Would have been a little bit better if he had scored better than that 75 the week before, but we can't complain there. 126 on the up, thumbs up. Talk about on the up, Jordan Ridley. As I said, I was watching the game with Spills, and we were keeping a keen eye on Ridley, and he seemed almost back to his best, getting a few more of the kickouts, which was really nice. It was really weird, like Heppel take a couple, then Redmond, I think, took some here and there, but I think Ridley, just from the eye, now I haven't looked up any stats, but I think he would have taken the most kick-ins for Essendon. I'm pretty sure about that. But had a really good impact on the game. I've been really worried about this pick. I know some people traded him out. And look, if he'd have had the round 14 bye instead of the round 13, because I just really need him playing this week, I would have probably been in that boat and traded out Jordan Ridley. The move I was going to make this week was to actually trade out one of Short or May to Dan Houston. But in the end, what worried me was Houston's durability, that shoulder, that I just wasn't sure if he'd be able to play the remainder of the season, and how sore he was. But I did like the Houston pick, but I just wasn't sure if I could trust his body. So a little bit unfortunate there, because Houston scored okay, but still really happy to have May and Short in the side, and they now come back onto the field this week, which is awesome. But Ridley 111, thumbs up with that, wrapped. Lockie Jones 29. Yeah, I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but he's probably a trade now, isn't he? I thought that he was going to get up to that 300k mark. Was looking awesome just a few weeks ago, but what was it, a 42 type score, 29 this week. He was meant to be really nice cover for me during the buys, and at the end of the day, what's he giving me? Under 80 points, about 70 points during the buys over 2 rounds. So ultra disappointing from Jones. I was hoping for at least 130 points over those 2 weeks, and that's only asking for a 65, which I didn't think was too much, but all of a sudden he'll have a pretty high break even, I think, for a rookie, and won't be making the cash that I wanted him to make. And Bianco didn't play along with Shorty. Onto the midfield, so yeah, this isn't a really nice looking situation, is it? You can see the man I traded there. You can see why it's a panic trade. Go back and listen to my stock market videos over the last 5 weeks. I've said don't go near Travis Boak. Get Ollie Wines in if you're getting a poor player, or just go up to someone really decent. And I was thinking Lachie Neale, but what was worrying me was the fact that I hadn't seen an ultra good performance. I thought, look, even the fact he's back, injury free, hopefully he should go really well against North, but it's next week that worries me against Geelong with the O'Connor tag. I saw it firsthand, live, up and close in round 1, this O'Connor tag on Neale, and Neale just couldn't get near it, and I think some of the tactics were questionable, put it that way. Maybe Brisbane supported bias there, keep that in mind. But Spew and I didn't end up going through with that. But look, McRae, 97, just had one of those games where he got enough of the pill, but just didn't use it very well at all. It was very unlike Jack McRae, his usage, those kicks, lots of direct turnovers. I haven't got the numbers. This was just, watching the game just from the eye, as I said. I haven't really looked at many numbers this week, because obviously Spill's been over. We've just been talking nonsense and watching a few games here and all the rest. But look, 97, the first time I'm pretty sure he's gone under the ton for us all year. Some people did trade him in this week, so that would have been unfortunate, but don't worry too much. This man is not a man that lets you down. Remember, the first time all year he's gone below 100, and it's 3 points under a 97. But obviously, it didn't work as a vice-captain, so I put the captain on this man, Josh Kelly, and I'll tell you what, in the first 4 minutes, he was everywhere, this bloke. I think he had 4 or 5 touches, something like that. And he was just dominating, almost kicked a goal, an inch away, just kicked it behind, and I thought, brilliant, here we go. And then you wouldn't believe it, he rolls his ankle. So I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, 101 from Josh Kelly, That was a terrific performance, and I've got a lot of respect for Josh Kelly, more respect than I've ever had for him, because you could tell that he was really struggling. When he was running, he was almost hopping at times. It was just really awkward. You can tell that he was labouring, but he just did his best to still get to every contest and have a real impact on the game. So, yeah, thumbs up to Josh Kelly. But I went the early crow last week. I was expecting, a 150, and look, who knows what he could have done if he, wasn't hampered by that ankle injury. So 101 at the end of the day as a captain isn't great, but when you look at the merits, the McRae's, the Walsh, Boak, who I'll talk about in a sec, Mitchell, 114, I couldn't have gone much better. I was never going to put it on a Stewart or Whitfield. So, the Ruckman's obviously gone. Oliver's gone. So just one of those weeks where it was tough to nail a vice captain or a captain option. So if you had a Jared Lyons, Bonson Pally, you'd be laughing if you had have selected those in your loop. Even a Tuke Miller just went the 107. I thought he had a cracking game as well. Faded out in the second half. But, at the end of the day, Kelly, a manful performance, I think. Is manful a word? I'm not even too sure. But, a gallant performance, I think, is probably the better phrase to use. 101. I hope that he's right for this week. I hope that he doesn't need a week off just to recover and get that better. Hopefully, right. Fingers crossed anyway. Merritt, 93, just a below par game from him. I know that he was getting some pretty close attention from Liam Shields at times, but bad luck if you had the captaincy on him. But at the end of the day, 90 plus from a captain wasn't too bad, I suppose, with the options that we had available this week. Titch, this was looking really good at halftime, so it was looking like a 140 type score, but slowed up in the second half. A 114 though. Yeah, this man's probably back in form, and I can probably recommend him as a pick now, Titch. I'll need to go back on the numbers, and I don't know if it's coming down to efficiency, more contested possessions. I'll need to really go back because I haven't really looked at the numbers too closely, because when you've got someone in your team, they're already there, and I'm probably not going to trade him out because he was really good cover for the buys. So he's been super cover actually during the buys, Tommy Mitchell. So yeah, well done, Titch. Really raised the bat over the last couple of weeks, mate. Sammy Walsh, we knew this was going to come. A couple of people asked me about, do I trade in Sammy Walsh this week? And my advice was, look, he's going to be a long-term selection, I think. He'll be a good selection. I still think he's going to finish as a top 8 mid. But this week is probably not a good week to get him because, and I won't say Mark Leclerc again, like I made a mistake last week, Matty de Boer, the Frenchman was always going to Walsh. I said that last week in my review. It's just a given because he's just by far and away their most damaging player at Carlton. It was the only move that was going to happen. So, yeah, he's got to expect more of this, though, going into the future. And it's probably going to be a good learning experience, I think, for him, Sam Walsh. The more tags that he gets, hopefully, the better he'll be able to manage those. And I suppose use his elite endurance. I think that can be, a big key for him in order to break the tags, I think. Now, getting onto this trade, man, Travis Boak. So I had Andy Brayshaw. Look, the method behind the madness was that at the end of the day, Brayshaw just wasn't doing it for me. I thought, look, I need to go to someone and I need some extra points this week. I want a 125 extra on field this week. And so I was looking at the options. I could go up to a Jared Lyons. No, just under a Jared Lyons, I think it was. I can't remember at this stage. I don't think I could have got Lyons, but I could have got Neil. Ollie Wines, I think he was an option. But at the end of the day, I looked at Boak's price. He was about 10k dearer, I think, than Brayshaw. I looked at his season average. So he had about 9 points extra on Brayshaw for a season average. So I sort of did the maths in the head and thought, geez, that, adds up to, around your 110 to 120 type points on the season so far. You then get this extra game this week. So I know that I'm not getting those extra 120 points on the season so far, but just given the fact that he had performed at a higher level than Brayshaw and done it for a little bit longer, I thought, look, I could go on Travis Boak. I looked at his numbers. The way that he ended the season last year after the bye was super. Really, really good performances. I don't know if he went below the ton. He may have. I can't remember off the top of my head, but all that I do know is that the numbers last year are really, really good. And then I looked at his numbers last week, copped a tag, and I thought, look, if he can get 29 touches of the ball when he's copping a hard tag, get about 109, I think it was from memory, then I think that's good signs. And look, he's not going to be an uber premium, but the trouble is if I do go up to an uber premium, I'm probably going to have to use 3 trades to get Brodie Grundy back, depending on where I want to go, because at this stage, my new plan is to actually hold Poulter. I just think that he's going to be an ideal swing between your, what's that going to be, your M9 to your F7. So ideally, that's going to be my play and hold on to him. So I know it, may have turned out to be a bit of a silly move, looking to hold Poulter for the rest of the year and avoid maybe a Lachie Neale, Jared Lyons type. But look, at the end of the day, I went with Boak. I regret the decision now. I can't go back on it, but it is what it is. I'm hoping that scoring pattern from post-buy 2020 will continue in 2021. Different year, probably different scenario, but I've made my bed now and have to lie in it. So got Travie Boak for the rest of the season. Can't believe I did it. If you had told me this at the start of the round, I would have said you're crazy. I'm not doing it. But Waterman out really, really hurt me because I was almost hell-bent on getting 18. That was just a major goal for me. Having Zorko out, that really, really hurt, for example. So, things just didn't work out. And these things happen, as I said. Not complaining too much. Newcomb, 24, just didn't see this coming. I just thought with tackles alone, he'll scrape his way to a 60 each week. But, 24 points. I didn't think it'd be possible with John Newcomb. I just didn't think it'd be possible. But a few direct turnovers. Pretty sloppy with his ball use. Does he keep his spot? I think that Clarkson actually said that the more games that these guys play at AFL level, the more experience they have, then the better they'll be. So I hope that, I'm taking that as they're going to pump more games into the kids. I hope that's what they're going to do. So fingers crossed. Look, I just need him as maybe second emergency bench cover if I end up being able to keep on to Poulter, which I hope that I can. Led didn't play, Poulter no, and Fife is a loophole. Would have loved a sneaky game from Fife during round 14, but hoping for a bit too much there. Into the rucks. So Maxi Gawn obviously didn't play. Now Zach Smith, I wanted a 70. I didn't think that was asking too much. That's what he was averaging over the first 3 rounds. 68, 75, 73 or something like that. So 56 below par. Just got smashed up by the Peanut and Scotty Lysette. They're not a bad combo, to be quite honest. And Zach Smith, he's a below par ruck. We know that, but my method behind the madness, so I explained that last week. But it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle to get to 300k now, but I still think that he can do it in time. I still think that within the time frame I've set for myself to get Grundy in, that I can still do that within 2 trades and hold on to Poulter there as well. But Lachie Jones, his score and his injury now may throw a spanner into that work. So we'll have to see what happens there. But Smith, terrible ruckman, but I suppose he's half doing the job. Coleman Jones didn't play. Hawley, 100, so this was not looking good at halftime. I think he was on, was it 27, low 30s possibly. And I said to Spills, because Spills traded him in this week, I said, look, don't worry. He's a type of bloke that can get, another 15 posies in the second half, really build up that score with some effective disposal. And that's what happened. End up getting right on 100. So I can still claim that Aaron Hall has not gone below the ton for me since I've owned him. So love this selection. What is he now? 554k. So that season average now 95.8. Keep in mind though, 2 injury affected games in that, which has really lowered that season average. If you look at his 5, 6, 7, I think possibly even 8 round average, that's well above 95, well above 95. So love the Hall pick. And as a pairing from Hall and Zeeble, I get 234 points. So absolutely stoked with that. I'm sort of aiming for 220 each week. That's ideal. So basically a 110 from Hall and Zeeble, or it could be a 130 from Zeeble, and even, the 90 from Hall, if that's what it is. But Zeeble, 134. I did say, and I've said this again for the last few weeks, just hold on to him. Just hold on to Jack Zeeble. All you need to do is pair him up with Aaron Hall, and as a combination, they'll deliver each week. They've just been ultra consistent, these 2 blokes. That brings me on to this man, Kyle Langford. Look, it was always going to be a bit of a risky pick. I watched the game pretty closely. There was times where he was starting on the wing, times where he got some CBAs, times where he was up forward. But What I didn't like was the fact that Jake Stringer absolutely dominated. The package delivered, didn't he? I tell you what a game. And he deserved that 175 score, whatever it was in the end. I don't know if I checked it at the end. I think it was 175 though. But look, Langford, I think this may have been a mistake. It's only one game though, so he had a good second half, a pretty poor first half. But in saying that, he was on 24, 25 points, I think, at quarter time, and basically scored no points in the second quarter. It's just, it was one of those things where when he did get the ball, which wasn't very often in that second quarter, he didn't use it well. I remember there was a time where Draper could have had an easy handball to him. He could have collected, if it was a nice handball, run inside 50, even a shot on goal. But, it was a handball almost at his feet. He sort of fumbled. Just didn't work for him at stages during the game. But I think if he can still get a decent amount of CBAs, even on that wing, even playing up forward, I think he's dangerous. He did kick a goal, as we saw, and had the opportunity, I think, to impact the scoreboard. Another time, but just didn't work out. I don't think it's going to be an absolute disaster. And, particularly when, someone traded in a Bailey Dale, for example, and he gives you a 50 at, what was he, 525, I think. So I still got him, this is Langford, about 475. So went up 20k, not ideal though, with the 72. I really wanted 100 plus. If you look at his last 3 weeks before this week, it was always on the cards for him to go down when I got him. But I am due for a little bit of bad luck with some trade-ins, because the last blokes I brought in, like your Aaron Halls, I know that Zorko's been suspended, but he's scored really well for me. Jack McRae, he's done well for me since I've had him. Josh Kelly for a couple of weeks now. It's been pretty successful, the trade-ins that I've got in recently. So can't complain too much for a week. But hopefully Langford can give me a 90 to a 95 plus. Really, 95 plus is what I want. I hope so. Now, if you traded Impey, you'd be really disappointed, wouldn't you? I know that some people even went Impey to Dale, and that would have been an absolute killer this week. But remember, it is for the rest of the season. I wasn't sure about Impey's change in role. I just wasn't sure. So I was never trading Impey this round anyway. It's something that I may have considered later on the season as more of a luxury trade, but I just needed cover this week. And 109, he just looked absolutely sublime. I think after the first quarter, he was on over 40 points, and he was on track for a really, really nice 100. But like a few of the other Hawthorn blokes, did slow up a little bit. But 109 from Jarman Impey, I'm not complaining. I was worried about a 50-60 type score. And when you watch him play like he did today, you just think to yourself, this bloke is 100% a keeper. It's just when he gets thrown around into different roles, we're worried about Day coming into the side. I know CJ was injured, and did he go off, was it third quarter, fourth quarter, maybe? I can't quite remember, but that may have had a little bit of an impact. But what I do know is when Impey was scoring really, really big, Jath was on the field, and he was also scoring well. Also, I think Day had a bit of a poor score, and I'm not sure what Hardwick did at the end of the day either. So wrap with that 109. I'm just going to keep him to the end of the year now. Pretty easy for me, Jarman Impey. Jimmy Madden. So Spills offered a sacrifice a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, and this man came into the side. It was always pretty much a given as soon as Leicester went down. We know Gardner's not coming back anytime soon. So I think Madden's probably got 2 or 3 more weeks in the side at this stage. And it's pretty much a given also when Leicester comes back in that Madden probably goes back out. That's been the pattern, and I probably don't see that changing. Fagan loves Leicester. He's a really underrated player for Brisbane, important for our structure. But I've always been a big believer that one of these blokes needs to go. So Leicester or Birchall probably in place for Jimmy Madden, because we don't have much pace coming out of our backline. If you think of Rich, Birchall, as I said, Starcevic good, but a different type of player. Is that lockdown, not necessarily that rebound around defence. I think we need a bit of speed there. So into the future, I think Madden should become a regular in our 22 each week, I think. Briggs as well. So I end up bringing this bloke in. Look, I'm really worried about his job security. It was a little bit dicey, but look, I thought he should score pretty well. He's been in great form in the VFL. I wasn't too sure about Mumford's injury, so I know that that Flynn gets rested from time to time. So does Mumford. So there's an opportunity for this bloke to get a few more games. But I'll probably now, given the fact that Lockie Jones is injured, may even have to swing back for Jones. And that way I've got this swing here with Briggs and Madden. But they're not the type of rookies that are going to be playing each and every week. I knew that when I invested in him. I decided to bring him in over Oh, geez, the fella from Hawthorn, Bramble. Because, yeah, I knew a little bit more about Briggs, I suppose. So, and Bramble, I thought, I've still got the opportunity. I can still watch him for another week and then decide whether to get him in, because I thought he may just be coming in for Morrison really short term. Warple's back, I think, next week. So that's why I was a little bit worried about that pick. But in saying that, I knew that Briggs would, have a high chance of getting dropped coming into this week. What's that, round 15. So, but 69 on field, that was really important for me in the end. So, wouldn't take that trade back. Still happy with that. Zorko, the Muppet, he comes back this week. He's going to be super important for me in the run home to the Supercoach finals. And Martin, he'll come back into the side as well. So, we'll get these blokes back on. Isn't this a good feeling, being able to bring all your premiums back on field? Those blue dots, don't you hate seeing those blue dots as well? Now I'm going to bring Coleman Jones over in place of Smith. I think you can see what the obvious trade-in for me is there, what I need to do. So Laird comes back onto the field now. Full in the mids. And then Jones comes out for short. Take the emergency off him. Whacked on Bianco. Poulter, so I'm wrapped. I'm hoping that I can keep Poulter. I think, look, I don't know what I'll do with Jones. Depending on the situation, I may just leave him there for now and use other people to bring in Grundy. I'm sure that if he recovers, if it's not a real long-term sort of injury for Jones, that he probably comes back into the side, and he might be good cover for the last few weeks anyway. But my aim is to get Brodie Grundy in the 2 trades. So could I do it in 1? Nah, there's no way that I could. I have to do it in 2 trades, and I'll want to really avoid having to do it in 3. So I think that probably the obvious move for me, and this would be after the conclusion of round 17. So what do we got? Oh, no, hang on. After round 16 even, I think. So we've got round 15 now, round 16, and then the start of round 17. That's when I plan to bring Brodie Grundy back in, because I've got 100k in the bank, and by then Smith and Coleman Jones would have appreciated enough. And possibly even another move. Madden may have even appreciated enough by then if he plays for the next 2 weeks. So it may even be Coleman Jones swings down into the forward line, because I'd really like him as cover. Not too sure what happens with him, though, when Tommy Lynch comes back in. So we'll just sort of evaluate that, see what happens, and then maybe trade out Madden for someone like a Reeves. Even if he doesn't play, even just a non-playing player, we'll see what happens there. And then Zach Smith, I'll use him to go up. Or else, I could sort of keep Coleman Jones as my R3 as cover, go Madden and Smith to get Grundy in with that 100k in the bank. Poulter, I could obviously use him. That would be a pretty easy one. Not going to even do that next week, I think. But I'm a real fan of keeping him. The issue is that I haven't currently got DPP swing up here with a rookie. So that's another option I could get. Even a Jack Saunders from Hawthorn. Just trade him for one of these blokes in the forward line, or one of these blokes via some swing, something like that, because I'm really keen. I did say if you do have the luxury of keeping him for the whole season, that would be ideal. So I think that's a little bit of an ace I've got up my sleeve, because I think that most teams would have traded him out. You probably had to in your situations anyway. But that's probably my plan. Get Brodie Grundy in, and apart from that, I'm just going to spend trades for injuries, I suppose. I've got 6 trades now, so my plan is to have 4 for injuries. I'm hoping that I won't have to use all of them, and I'd really love to have 3 trades if possible, even 2 at least, going into the Supercoach finals. Wouldn't 4 trades be ideal? That would be great, so I've got possibly a luxury upgrade. I'd love to get another premium midfielder in. I'd really like to do that. Maybe Danger, if he starts to really explode, if he gets some feel and hit some form. Lockie Neal, I'd love to have him on the side. This week I am worried about his score, though, with O'Connor. It worked last time for the Cats, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it again. I just think that that's the logical move from Geelong's point of view. So a little bit worried for Lockie Neal this week. But look, that's my team, guys. That's where everything sits at the moment. Completed team once I get Grundy, with probably 4 trades left. And hopefully no more injury carnage. So hope you went well. Look, if you didn't have a great score this week, remember, most of your premiums, all your premiums should be back on the field this week. If you're a Dane Zorko owner, he comes back after suspension. Yeah, things are on the up. So don't lose too much faith so far. But obviously look out for our podcast tomorrow night, Supercoach Swordplay. Remember, it's on our new channel. Remember to check that out. And also the, I can't even think. I'm tired after a big weekend. The stock market video as well. So look, how relevant a stock market video is going to be. Probably relevant for next month maybe until we're finishing our final upgrades. And once our upgrades are finalised, then we may just focus on some of the real premium players and a couple of maybe wacky selections, but maybe not in as much detail in about another month. But we have got a fair bit of the season left to go. Good luck with everything this week, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.